What's up, guys? This should be video number 15. I actually forgot, and I need to check because it was having, again, issues. I said I was having issues that last episode, I think, and maybe it had issues again as far as the actual uploading this time, not so much the recording part. So I need to make sure I check that. That being said, so if you catch me glancing down to the side, it's because I kind of jotted down some notes. So a couple things right off the bat. Obviously, you're seeing this over here, and you're like, "Ooh, this looks different." Couple GUI changes, just to the look of it. Or not GUI, I should just say graphical changes. So I decided to do this to where it just flashes between two different colors for readability, rather than try and be fancy and have the extra colors. I may consider bringing the colors back just because it'd be interesting to try and require the database to update the CSS, I guess, style, if there's a way to do that, because that seems like an interesting thing to potentially try and do. But for the time being, we're just going to do this. So we also decided to go ahead and split the buttons up into their respective tab. And I managed to finally actually fix this just before the video, where it actually has the button working properly. Now we may want to add a little bit more space between the button. At some point, I don't think I'm going to worry about it right now, but at some point I'd probably want to style the button a little bit, and maybe even style the radio buttons for each of these. But for the time being, kind of more worried about functionality. We'll kind of beautify it, prettify it, make it a little bit more purdy a little bit later. And so if you noticed, the teams are actually different. And so the reason for that actually comes from I finally kind of started the database implementation. So this is the database. Obviously, I can also show you the results over there, but I guess here we'll do this just because it has the roster ID and schedule ID. So we've got roster ID, schedule ID. Those, I plan for those to be the foreign keys. Let me make sure I'm recording real quick before I go too deep into this. Yep, good. Yep, good. Making sure. Let me double check. Hit him with the double check. Like I'm discount, double check Aaron Rodgers. So schedule ID is going to be one of the foreign keys. Roster ID is going to be another. And I'm thinking about splitting. In fact, it's very likely I will. I'm going to split the databases into. My notes falling down on me. So, I think the plan is to actually split it into 4 tables. Initially, it was going to be something like schedule, team _ standings, and then roster. But I think what I want to do, and this will allow me to maybe do some more complex joins that I can practice, as well as just I feel like it's a little bit better. And obviously, the only one I have filled out kind of right now is this one because I don't have these 2 databases created yet. The plan is probably to go ahead and split it into 4, and we'll bring team into here, and we'll have like a team ID, we'll have a standings ID, and so we'll probably take out schedule ID out of, or not schedule, roster ID out of here, and we'll just have roster ID as a foreign key for this, and it'll be team ID right there, bring team. So, I mean, changes like that, obviously, and then, so I may have my database stuff wrong, but because I was just kind of glancing on documentation and how to document stuff. I haven't looked at this too heavy since college. But the ... is for strong relationships, and then a straight or a solid line would be for a weak relationship. So that's something that I need to probably kind of refresh on, because I know I looked it up over, or I guess I exited out of it because I'm just good like that. But strong versus weak is something that I need to kind of make sure I kind of refresh on in terms of understanding. I know it's like, I think it was maybe if you connected these two, since technically this isn't going to have a direct connection or isn't supposed to. It does right now, obviously, because of roster ID, but it's not supposed to eventually. Maybe that would be a weak connection. I'm not sure. I'd have to think on that. That being said, there are things that I do actually kind of understand, at least based off of how I did this. I don't know if I did it right or not. But the dashes, the two little dashes, is supposed to be the idea of one, so one-to-one relationship. And so for every schedule, there's only going to be one set of standings. And for every standing, there's only going to be one schedule. There you go. And then for team, there would be for one standing table, there would be multiple teams, and then for one team roster, arguably I could probably change to player would be a better, more accurate description of it, potentially. So we'll consider that, maybe not, we'll see. But so there's, for one team, there's supposed to be many players, which means I actually think I need to flip this around. But we'll get to that. I'll make sure I look at that later. And this kind of got thrown together this afternoon, so like 10 minutes ago. So that being said, that's kind of the documentation for that, and I just trying to kind of do something a little bit documentation-wise, just so that way I'm covering a lot of different bases, doing a lot of different stuff that hopefully would be to some extent useful. Because obviously, like, you think about it, so for computer people, this may not be like the most necessary thing in the world because they're going to understand it. But for like a business person, maybe I'm trying to say, hey, this is what we're doing. These are the relationships they're going to have. There you kind of go. Or like if I was talking to like my dad or my brother who don't have a background in computer science, that would give them an idea of how they're connected. Let's see. So talked about the database differences. Okay. So now let's just go ahead and probably the last thing I'll talk about real quick and knock out, and then I'll go to the store. Just one thing as well, FYI, I think depends on what I'll end up doing this weekend, because it is Labor Day weekend, but there is a decent chance I decide to go ahead and double upload this weekend. And depending on whether that video that I tried to upload last week and actually uploaded or not, it may be a triple upload. So, just because that video may be like a week late, depending. But, so that's a little to-do list. Don't worry about you. So these are the inserts for the table currently. And this is the code for the create table. I'll probably go ahead and like keep the create table and stuff like that, just that way at any time if I want to just kind of reset it, I can just go ahead and delete the table and then just recreate the table and then redump the data into the table. So I don't know if there's a better way to do that than me just copying it back into a query like that, but that's just how I'll probably handle it for the time being. CSS, like I said, so I finally got that working. It was interesting because I got it working just before this video. For whatever reason, me just doing this style display like this, and then deleting my div, like I probably could add the div, I think it's team, I'm not gonna write it, but because it doesn't matter that much, but the div underscore, or div update dash standing, so that was the one, like, I had that as block none over here in the CSS file. I don't understand why that was causing the issue now that I think about it, but for whatever reason that was able to get it to work, and I'm willing to live. If that's what I have to do to get this to work, that's not too big of a deal to me. That being said, and this is where I kind of just did the orange and white, just kind of alternate that for readability. row 1, row 2, and it's coming from a database. Right. Where is it? Right here. And so it's getting all this information. It's going through a while loop, getting it, and then outputting it right here. And so another thing to consider is how I did, so the bull road background, that actually I kind of got from my internship at ARC Technologies back in the summer, I think it was of 2019, 2018? 2019, definitely 2019. And that's, so just kind of did a bool, and that was how I flipped it back and forth. I don't know if there's a better way to do that, but that's just immediate thought to do that. And then just so I'm using PHP for this. The thought maybe is I was considering using Python, but it seemed, I'm comfortable with PHP, and I know PHP a little bit better. So Python didn't seem as good of a choice in terms of me just continuously not making progress overall just for the sake of doing Python. So maybe I'll come back and update a version of Python. Although I did actually get a HTML file that would work on Python. And it would actually connect to the database and output information. So, and that's what this file is, and I had to update my config file, or update my Apache config file for that to actually work, but I don't want to go into there because I don't know if that has anything that's sensitive or not, for sure. Shrunk down the table size a little bit, just because I didn't like how I was taking up the whole screen. Another thing I probably want to do is go ahead and make it to where it's central, maybe. So maybe do like standing. Oh, that's why that wasn't doing anything earlier. I'm dumb. I'm pretty sure. Because I was trying to do table. Gotcha. So that actually is probably. Because it was probably getting, so that's probably why we're about to try this on screen. This probably is not going to go well, but. I don't really know how you align divs, to be honest. So, center. I'm not going to try too hard on this. If this doesn't work right here, then I'll just go ahead and keep on going on. But, yeah. So, we'll keep moving on. But, so, yeah, did all that. Is there anything else new? I also, so the database, or the names for update standings for these teams, I actually got those from the database, as you can see right here. And what I did was I actually went ahead and so what I did was I actually alphabetized them. So I did it based off of, so it's ASC, I think. So you order by team, ASC, I guess team ascending, and it naturally knows to alphabetize by that. And then, so for the table, I actually did by order by points descending. So. And that's why, so that was able to get it to 9, 7, do the points properly like an actual Premier League table. It's like, hey, Tottenham, if today was the end of the league, then they would win the league based off this 4-team table. So, that being said, that's probably it for today. Like I said, look forward to a potential double or maybe even triple if that last video didn't update. If that last video didn't update and it keeps wanting to not update, I might just have to scratch that, and this will be video 14. Or actually, it'll probably still stay video 15, but video 14 will just be in oblivion for forever and ever. But potentially either way, we may get a video 15 sometime later this weekend. So, all right, boys and girls, have a good evening, and I will see y'all next time. Bye. As I slowly, truly go to stop recording.